What single word do you most identify with? What a thing
I
to
didn't
ask.
see that on the thing.
What a thing to ask a woman of words. Pick your favorite child.
Most identify with.
Or what is one of the words you most identify
Stubborn. Stubborn.
Stubborn.
Yeah, I think I am. Well, I think that the most profound impact on my life as it worked out was my music teacher beginning about the time I was in the 4th grade. What I got from him was, again, the love of the mathematics, the love of the sound, and also the ensemble nature of making music, that this was not, it was not just one person at the instrument. And he did not have some of the same very parochial attitudes that existed in the South in the 50s.
Was it unusual for women, girls, to sort of do what you were doing when you were doing it?
Of going on to further study, that was very unusual. I had kind of scoped out, here's how you proceed. And because my mother was a teacher and all of her sisters had been teachers, and it seemed that my career goal should be to become a high school band director. And then sometimes other things happen, and other things that will have a much more profound effect on where you end up. I had a job working in a resort in the mountains of North Carolina, and its claim to fame was that they had singing waiters and waitresses. So I was a piano player. I had a friend who was one of these singing waiters who loved poetry. And on the breaks, right, or over lunch, or when you're, waiting for your order to come up, he would read Rilke, and he would read E.E. Cummings, and he would read all kinds of things that I knew nothing about. I had no idea that was poetry, and I just found it astonishing. Started with Beowulf, and so I did more and more literature and less music, and then I ended up going to graduate school in poetry. I had in mind to go to Vanderbilt because many of my literature teachers in South Carolina had studied at Vanderbilt during a real blossoming of letters there, and they studied with the fugitive poets. But I really needed to know what my chances were of getting some fellowship support. I had arranged to have an appointment with the Dean of Graduate Studies. And his response was, this is in 1964, his response was, "Oh, my dear, you have no chance at all." He said, "You're a very bad investment. You will come here and meet a nice young man, and then you'll get married and have babies." And I said, "No, I won't. I will be happy to sign on the paper. That isn't what I want to do. I want to come here. I want to go to Donald Davis's class. I want to study lyric poetry." So I went to University of Iowa instead, and I guess that maybe Paul Engel thought that I was a character out of Tennessee Williams or something. I'm not sure, but anyway, I was lucky to have gotten there. It's almost as though, you have to be smacked around a little bit to sort of, get out of your own way. So it took a little smacking around for me. But I did end up teaching. So I think of myself as much a teacher as I do a writer.
Based on your experiences, these experiences, did that filter into your decision to found a low residency program?
Yes, I think in large part. I started teaching at Goddard in the early 70s. They had a low residency program for Bachelor of Arts. Almost, I would say, probably 70% of those students were women, because they had done what the Vanderbilt guy was afraid I would do, and they had done it at an earlier age. The acting president at the time said, well, if we are an experimental college, then we need to continue to experiment, and we need to think about constituencies not being currently served. So I put my hand up and said, well, I know one. There are all these people who couldn't get a bachelor's degree because of other commitments that they had. How about if we adapt the BA program and make it just for writers, and then give them a chance to continue their education this way?
Where do you find your happiness and your joy?
Work. I think to try to write a poem and try to write a good poem and then try to write a better poem than you have ever written before, and then try to write a poem so that you would not be embarrassed when you get to heaven and John Keats looks at what you did. That, you know, that you can say, sorry, John, I wasn't quite up to the ode, but, you know, will this pass muster? There's nothing more exhilarating than to be absolutely in the middle of that, the point at which the language on the page it's speaking to you. It's not that you are putting down what you already thought, all of your opinions, which are worthless. Then the moment at which the language on the page, and for poetry, the music of the language, the arrangement, those two things then can make you discover something that you had not known about the world, about yourself, about poetry. Absolutely exhilarating.
What would you change in the world if you could?
Are we at the big things? Are we like
Or and it can be as big or small as you
a
like.
more just, verdant, and peaceful world? How about that? A more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Well, I have a long list. The worst thing is absence of hope, whether it's abject poverty, whether it's acute physical suffering. If you add to that then no sense of possibility that is ever going to change or change in any significant way, but then, I mean, why go on or why endure it? I don't think that suffering in and of itself ennobles. I don't believe that. But I do think that the triumph of the human spirit is in the face of suffering. And in the face of suffering, to have some notion about the future. For many people whom I admire greatly, that future then will not be something that they participate in. The future will be for others. That they're going to make this change or believe in this change or believe that it's going to be better for the sake of their children, for the sake of their comrades, for the sake of their country. I mean, however you want to define the community that we are part of. Stubborn.